Hi, this is Tara. Welcome to Patanjali's Yogasutras on Skygazing. Today we're studying Sutra number 46. Let's jump right in. Ta eva sabījaḥ samādhiḥ. Ta meaning those or they, eva only, truly, sabījaḥ with seed, samadhi, absorption. What does Maharishi Ved Vyasa say? He says, they are the seeded trance only. So these four descriptions of what he calls thought transformation have their origin, are rooted in, are seeded by external objects. Therefore, this samadhi is sabījaḥ or seeded. In the case of the gross objects, it is indistinctive and distinctive. And in the subtle objects, it is meditative and ultra-meditative, as we have seen. Thus, samadhi is described to be fourfold. What samadhi? Sabījaḥ samadhi. Swami Satyananda explains that those stages which have just been explained in the previous four sutras are only samadhi with seed. The object on which you are meditating is bija or seed. It forms the basis of support for the consciousness. So finally, when consciousness becomes concentrated in the form of that bija, they become one, like salt and water. And the subjectivity of the mind is lost. The mind loses itself in the seed and vice versa. But then there is a stage where even this consciousness should be eliminated. Asmita consciousness is the last, the highest stage of consciousness. In that state, neither the consciousness nor the object of consciousness is lost, but they are in dependent existence with each other. There is no differentiation. After this, the awareness of asmita is also to be eliminated. Thus, the consciousness as well as the seed is removed. It is just like evaporating water from a mixture of salt and water. The very process of awareness is eliminated, and this is difficult indeed. So the whole process from vitarka to asmita is sabījaḥ asampragnata samadhi. There, the superconsciousness has a basis to rest. After that, it is nirbija. So the arrow is your personal consciousness going through the planes or lokas. Right? In each loka, you have savitarka and nirvitarka. That is, first is the development of the positive and then of the negative. First is the language for the basis of awareness, then it is the form of reflection, and after that, it is simple experience. There is no word, no idea, nothing. You do not know what it is just awareness. It should be noted that there is no difference between sampragnata and sabījaḥ samadhi. Asampragnata, nirbija, nirvikalpa are different stages of samadhi. They should not be confused or equated with each other. Okay, let's quickly run through what Patanjali teaches us in Sutra number 17 and 18 about the types of samadhi. I'm only going to use Swami Satyananda's explanation because if you go back to Sutra 17 and 18, you'll discover the different bhashyas, give you different versions. For instance, on whether a sampragnata is bija. But so I'm sticking with Swami Satyananda on this one. But you can go back and refer to the differing versions. Okay, so first let's start with what is the description of the different kinds of samadhis. So samadhi begins only when your consciousness is free from the physical sphere. When you release from the physical as well as the pranic sense of awareness, but remain aware of mental awareness, that is the beginning of samadhi, according to Swami Satyananda. So this samadhi begins when the mind has gone deep into the manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, and the anandamaya kosha. I am not explaining koshas right now, so I will do a separate short on that for YouTube, so you can check that. So the other two koshas are annamaya, gross, and pranamaya, which is the breath, which is finer than the annamaya kosha. And then comes manomaya, vijnanamaya, and anandamaya kosha. So there is no physical content. Beyond these spheres is Purusha. So samadhi is achieved. When do we start samadhi? Samadhi is achieved when the consciousness goes deeper and deeper, transcends the spheres of object, motion, thought, instinct. In this process, frees itself from the physical and the pranic and other spheres. So all five spheres are entangled with Prakriti. But when consciousness reaches Anandamaya Kosha, it becomes practically free from the clutches of Prakriti. This forms the range of samadhis. So the whole range is classified under two, that is sabījaḥ with seed, nirbījaḥ without seed. Okay, so mind has a fixed basis in content, center, or symbol, gross or subtle, and then there is pratyaya, which is the content of the symbol. This is used by beginners, and there are four kinds of bases, of which there are four kinds of samadhi, which we have just studied. So nirbījaḥ without seed is the highest state. Even the last basis of consciousness is dropped and the mind becomes free from pratyaya. That is the base. When the pratyaya is thrown away, one reaches the higher states of samadhi. Okay, so this is just a brief summary of what are the forms of samadhi. But then in Sutra number 18, Patanjali is also talking about the other samadhi. What is the other samadhi? The other samadhi is asampragnata samadhi. And it is preceded by continued study of stopping the content of the mind. So there is a misconception on also a difference between the bhashyas on this kind of samadhi. So every depth of sampragnata samadhi is intermixed with the state of asampragnata samadhi. And that asampragnata samadhi, Swami Satyananda says, is not nirbīja samadhi. Asampragnata still belongs to sabījaḥ samadhi. Nirbīja is the highest samadhi, and therefore both sampragnata and asampragnata are sabījaḥ. When the spiritual aspirant departs from dhyana and enters samadhi, that is vitarka sampragnata. If perfected, that vitarka sampragnata will be followed by asampragnata. The next stage is vichara sampragnata. When he achieves vichara sampragnata, it is again followed by vichara asampragnata. Similarly with ananda and asmita, asmita asampragnata finally culminates in nirbīja. Okay, so this is just a brief explanation in the middle of Sutra 17 and 18, in the middle of Sutra number 46. So I still encourage you to go back and listen to Sutra or read on your own Sutra 17, 18, and 19. And you might have to make notes and do it a couple of times because it is quite complicated. So I hope this is not confusing you further. Right? Swami Vivekananda says these concentrations are with seed. These do not destroy the seeds of past actions. Thus, they cannot give liberation. But what they bring to the yogi is stated in the following aphorisms. So note that Swami Satyananda and Maharishi Ved Vyasa are saying that the sutra is basically summarizing the previous four sutras. Swami Vivekananda says it's nodding to the four sutras ahead by reminding you that these do not destroy the seed of past actions and they cannot give liberation. And you will understand the benefit of sabījaḥ samadhi in the following sutra. Okay, now coming to BKS Iyengar. He says that the states of samadhi described in the previous sutra are dependent on a support or seed and termed sabījaḥ. So the savitarka, nirvitarka, savichara, nirvichara, sananda, and sasmira samadhi are sabījaḥ samadhis. All the states of samapati described from Sutra 17, 18, 19, as also Sutra 42 to 45 are seeded samadhis, sabījaḥ samadhis. These are dependent on the object, which also includes ahankara and the I principle, intelligence, buddhi. So, and asmita. Their seed is the core of the being, the only seedless seed in each individual. So, BKS Iyengar also compares these to the brain functions that are supported by them. So, savitarka, nirvitarka, analysis, non-analysis is frontal lobe. Savichara, nirvichara is the back brain. Joy, Ananda is base of the brain, Asmita is top of the brain. So through the practice of yoga, the sadhaka turns his practice from gross to subtle. So when he reaches the apex, what BKS Iyengar means is he is now attaining a perfection in the full control of his brain functions. And if you have control over your brain functions, you are able to switch them on and off, both deliberate and non-deliberate. So he's also describing the stage that Patanjali, the in-between stage that Patanjali describes in Sutra number 18. This is asampragnata samadhi, which is the plateau stage between sabījaḥ and nirbīja. And he describes it like the petals of the lotus that close and open. The brain withdraws its functions and opens them out when you reach asampragnata samadhi. And that is why the contemplation of the seer, he says, is seedless. That is, when you're contemplating the Purusha, it is seedless or nirbija. When your meditation or absorption is with seed, it is a contemplation of alinga, that is prakriti. Okay, now we come to Osho. Osho says these samadhis that result from meditation on an object are samadhis with seed, do not give freedom from the cycle of rebirth. You can meditate on any object, whatever material, whether material or sacred. And the object may be money, it may be moksha, it may be a diamond. It makes no difference. If the object is there, the mind is there. That's what you've got to remember. Through the other, the mind is fed continuously. And when the other is there, you cannot know yourself. The whole mind is focused on the other. The other has to be removed, utterly removed, so that there is nothing for you to think. With the object, Patanjali says there are many possibilities. You can be in relationship with the object as a reasoning being. You can think about the object logically. Then Patanjali gives it the name of Savitarka Samadhi. Okay, so when you are absorbed into the object and you're not thinking about it logically, this is the mind of the, what he describes as the poet, the painter, the aesthetic mind. The poet goes directly into the object. This becomes Nirvitarka Samadhi. Then Patanjali comes to Savichara Samadhi, where logic has been dropped. And then in Nirvichara, the object is made subtle. For example, he says the Buddhists that contemplate on emptiness. The highest nirvichara is when the consciousness bounces upon oneself. Okay, and when you start thinking, I have attained this state, then you've again created an object. So he says one has to be aware not to allow the idea of no thought. Don't try. When something like that happens, remain in it. Don't think about the fact that you are in it. It's a bit complex, I suppose, for people like us. But by people like us, I mean me, who are just much lower down and still learning. But to be at a state where you are meditating, you are absorbed in samadhi, but you do not have this distinction or separation of the idea that I am absorbed in samadhi and I am analyzing the state that I'm in to develop. There is that much of complete absorption. And Osho says that this is why the Sufis dance, because when you dance, you avoid the mind. And this is what the whirling dervishes are about, that they reach that state of trance or samadhi, and the movement stops them from thinking about themselves. I wouldn't know, I haven't done it, but I'll take his word for it. Barbara Stoller Miller. These modes of contemplative poise are the contemplation that bears seeds. So she says, yet in so far as, so she's explained, right, intuitive cognition, nirvichara, derives from the realization, subjective world of spirit erroneously identifies with the characteristics of material nature. And this realization is supranatural, since the rational faculties of intelligence and mind belong to material nature. So yet in so far, this is what she explained to us till yesterday. So she says, insofar as thought depends on any object, however subtle, or even on a single idea, it is It has seeds. So, seed bearing contemplation, sabījaḥ samadhi, is related to the conscious cessation of thought that leaves traces and thus depends on subliminal impressions. Cognitive processes like conjecture, reflection, enjoyment, and egocentric perception are based on past experience. If the pure tranquility of yoga is to be reached, these experiences must cease to develop into new experiences. So, even in these 6 stages, the fourfold stages of sabījaḥ that he's described to us, um, we are not yet in the realm of going beyond birth and death, which kind of tells you how difficult yoga is. I think these days, when somebody has just basically been a decent person, we tend to say, oh, if he's suffered a lot in this life, we tend to say when they pass, oh, he doesn't have a rebirth. But for the yogis, rebirth is not, it's not something we just wish for, the good we wish for people, right? For good people to not suffer and may they gain moksha. And we say these very easily. But for the yogi, the layers of the mind and the layers of the body and how they fuse and how they separate and the workings of karma is very, very systematic. It's a systematic science. For them, it doesn't come lightly. For them, it is understanding what is the action, what is the thought, what is the state of samadhi, of perception, and it's control. It's control over that self-awareness of consciousness, of complete consciousness, the stilling of vritti. The more we read the Yoga Sutras, we understand, like we get so shaken by life, by the vicissitudes of life, whether it's a job loss or a relationship breakup or, losing somebody that we respect and love very dearly. And then when you read the Yoga Sutras, you realize these are the vrittis that they are describing to us, with their great experience. And for us, we're still using yoga and how to get over a relationship I really wanted to be in. And it's so at a mundane level. We're still using it to say, oh, how do I not order McDonald's at night? Okay. How do I lose weight? And I must have determination and I must build my company or I must save, And when you read the Yoga Sutras, you realize, my God, we are so in kindergarten. This complete control of perception of an object, whether it's an apple, whether it's a lotus, whether it's pranava, and to be able to see the mind, then how little we actually see of the mind, So, anyway, this is Sutra number 46. Please do come back tomorrow for Sutra number 47. Thank you so much for listening.